Manchester United are the champions of Europe again.
Hello and welcome back to the One United podcast. I'm joined as ever by Henry. Henry, how you doing?
Yeah, a bit disappointed, but you know, could be better. But hey ho, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's not a loss. It could be worse. That's all we'll say. And we're joined by Jamie. Now, Jamie is a Guardian and FourFourTwo featured writer who also works quite closely with the United stand. So, Jamie, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Hope you're all okay.
Yeah, it's brilliant to have you on. So, well, obviously, we'll dive into our first. No, it's fine. There's just a little bit of a delay, but it's all good. We'll jump into the first sort of thing we wanted to talk about, which is the game yesterday. Obviously, yet another goalless draw against a big six side. So, I'll come to you first, Jamie. What are your sort of overall thoughts on the game?
It was a very sketchy game. I thought you had two teams that were sounding each other out a bit. I thought that we had the better chances, and again, it comes down to not taking the chances, as it was against Liverpool a couple of weeks back, as it was earlier in the season against the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City at home. We were superb against the top six, but struggled against the lesser teams. This season seems to have gone the other way. But Solskjaer's playing completely different against the so-called Big Six this season to what he was last season. Last season, I think we set out to park the bus and hit on the counter. This season, I think he's trying to take the game to these teams a lot more than what he was. So I see a progression there. It wasn't a great performance, but I think it's something that we can build on as we enter the second half of the season. We've still got to play Chelsea away, still got to play Manchester City away, and it's definitely something that we can look at and improve on. Strikers for me are the issue there, not finishing the chances. You're only going to get a handful of chances in these games, and we've just got to learn to take them.
Yeah, definitely. I can't agree more. I think we played well. We created chances, but Henry, you know, is it on the strikers? You know, we obviously did create more chances than we'd probably expect, but you know, still we can't seem to score against the big side. So, what do you think is going on?
I don't know. It's so frustrating to watch this side at times. Against the big sides, we just don't seem to be able to cut it, and I don't know what's going on, but it's incredibly frustrating at the moment. I can't lie. You know, you go to one of these games and you think, it's Arsenal. Okay, they're missing a few players as well, which I think people are kind of overlooking. They're missing three essentially of their best players. Their best finisher up front, who would have probably scored yesterday. Aubameyang's a great player and would tuck away chances that maybe Lacazette and Pepe couldn't. And then Tierney and Saka, who are a threat going forwards and good defensively, both of them. So yeah, massive missed opportunity from my point of view. And I don't know what it is. We don't seem to be able to score against these kind of sides, and drawing a blank in this game it's just not, for me, it's not good enough. Especially with the players we had out there, and obviously McTominay coming off early. So we had an attack inside, and it felt like we were at times waiting for them to score before we kind of woke up. And that's not good enough for me. It's so frustrating to watch this all the time, and you know, maybe it's on the strikers partly, but questions have got to be asked over whether we're dominant enough, because we seem to just sit off and fall half asleep at times. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I'll build on that then, and I'll come to you, Jamie. Do you think that the blame lies further towards Ole and the way he set up to the game, or do you think it sort of lies more with the players and the fact that they couldn't quite finish the chances that we created?
I still maintain as the strikers. I think that Ole set out that game how he has done in big games in the past this season with the likes of McTominay and Fred. McTominay clearly wasn't well, but you can't criticise Ole for that. We don't know the ins and outs of whether McTominay was feeling unwell before the game and whether he's told the staff that he was feeling unwell. but quite clearly he was. I thought the substitution to bring on Martial for McTominay showed intent, that he wanted to go out and kill the game. He could quite easily, and he probably would have done in the past, swapped McTominay for Matic, which would have been a like for like. But what he's done there is he's moved Pogba back into the centre of midfield, brought on Martial to go onto the wing. And I think that showed an intent of what he was trying to achieve. Clearly, we've got Martial and Rashford who are firing blanks at the minute. I personally would have liked to have seen Greenwood come on, and that's nothing against Martial. I just think that he is misfiring at the minute. I still maintain that Greenwood's probably the best finisher of the three, with Rashford and Martial. Cavani quite clearly is a phenomenal talent despite his age, and he offers so much more up top, a traditional number. Look at last season, when we were doing well against the so-called Big Six, we were conceding goals, and we seem to have shut up shop. So we've kept clean sheets now against Arsenal, against Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea. So he's shut up shop and performed a turnaround in the defensive end, but we seem to have lost something now going forward. And I think it falls back to him missing a right winger as well in the summer, because Rashford's not a right winger, not at all. Quite clearly, he sees himself as a striker. So, maybe Diallo is a short-term answer. Maybe Sancho is the answer for the summer. Who knows? But missing out on that right winger we're only now starting to see the repercussions of that, I feel, and the creativity that we're lacking from that lack of right winger.
Yeah, definitely. I think there seems to be a little bit of a lack of cohesion at the minute up top. But do you think Henry, Rashford and Fernandes are both on sort of unfamiliarly long streaks without contributing to a goal, really? In the league, obviously they did well against Liverpool, but in the league they've been firing blanks for a few weeks now. Are we now seeing how over-reliant we are on those two players alone? Because, Cavani gets a few goals, Martial gets a goal every now and then, but apart from that, there's not many other goals in the team, really, is there? Do you think we're now being exposed a bit?
I wouldn't say we're being exposed. I'd just say that, the decision baffled me bringing Martial on over Greenwood yesterday. To me, it made no sense. Martial over the last few weeks has not only been poor in front of goal, he's shown a lack of fight almost to get the ball back and to chase players down, and it just looks like he wasn't putting the effort in. He was better yesterday, to be fair, when he came on, because maybe it was a wake-up call, but at the same time, if you've got someone like Greenwood on the pitch, you know that he needs half a yard of space. That's all he needs. Half a yard of space, one chance. It's usually going to end up in a goal. I reckon we had a couple of chances in the first half. The Rashford one, Greenwood takes first time, I think, and that goes in the back of the net because he's just instinct finisher. That's what he is. Rashford's a bit more, has to think before he takes a touch, and then it's too late, and then he takes another touch, and then it just takes too long. So maybe that decision would have been a bit different. I think we are a little bit reliant on Fernandes. Yesterday, Pogba did well for me. I thought he controlled the tempo at times in the game. He was bullying their midfield. I mean, Thomas Partey, we're talking about how fantastic he was. I don't think he did much yesterday. I thought Pogba did quite well up against him and Xhaka when they came one-on-one. So, it was incredibly frustrating. And maybe we're seeing, two of our best players are firing blanks, and maybe the others need to start stepping up, because if they don't, we're just gonna. I mean, we've got Southampton midweek, and they're not an easy team to beat. People, may look at this game and say, "Well, we should win this." We should, but they're a very good side, and they'll come out. They won't come out just to defend. They'll come out to get a goal. They've got top strikers up front who work kind of well together. So. If we're not careful in that game, we could get done. And I wouldn't start Rashford in that game, because I thought yesterday his attitude looked off for me, and his finishing was off. He takes 2, 3, 4 touches when he usually last year he would have taken one touch, bang, for that goal. Didn't pull the trigger. So I don't know what's going on with him, whether it's an injury, whether it's an attitude problem, I don't know. But I wouldn't start him midweek. I'd start Greenwood.
Yeah, I think he's sort of earned a rest. I think it's more, in my opinion, it's more that he's tired than anything else. He's featured in every league game this season, so he's gonna be feeling the effects, especially with the injuries he's had recently. But I'll come back to the point you made earlier, Jamie, about us missing a right winger and the fact that that was pretty instrumental. So moving forward, in the summer transfer window, who would you want us to bring in? There's Sancho being thrown about, Grealish. There's even shouts of Leon Bailey from Bayern Leverkusen. Who do you think needs to go in there to push us on to the next level?
I'd still like to see Sancho. I think that he is the number one target. And I think he'll continue to be the number one target. I think he wants the club and the club want him. And I think you're in a situation now with Dortmund. They know they're going to have to sell. They need to sell, particularly with them struggling in the Bundesliga as well. I mean, I'm sure they will make Champions League football, but if they don't, you lose next summer, or next season even, and they will have to cash in. And it's starting to look a bit like Woodward not paying the money that Dortmund wanted last summer could well prove to be a bit of a masterstroke. Waiting a year, he's still only 20 years old, so you're still going to get 10 years plus out of him. And we could get him cheaper than what they were, what Dortmund were expecting last season. I think Sancho will be the one. I'd love to see Grealish in there. I think Grealish is a phenomenal talent, but I can't see Villa letting him go for anything less than 100 million.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one, won't it? I know personally, I think right now, if I had to choose, I'd probably go Grealish, but I've not heard your opinion on this in a while, Henry, and especially given Grealish's performances this season. Has your stance on Sancho changed at all, or do you think we need to bring in a player like Grealish to make the difference?
I think you've got to look at who's going to want to sell and who is available for the best price. And we all know there's an English tax on players when it comes from the Premier League or from younger development. So especially with Grealish, Villa will want an extra 20-30 million plus what they already wanted. Because it's United and because there's this sort of English tax on players. The difference with Dortmund is they're set to lose. I mean, if they don't make Champions League, they could lose over 100 million euros this year, which is a massive amount for that club. Obviously, they're not getting any ticket sales, which they probably didn't expect. But yeah, they're financially struggling, and it looks like they're going to have to sell potentially Sancho and Haaland as well. So Sancho is realistic. I think Woodward, I'm not sure if it was a masterstroke or what, but Dortmund took a gamble in the summer, a massive gamble, because it was like, we've got two options, right? So we hold on and they don't pay the money, and we could sell him for the same price next year or a little bit more if we're doing well. But it kind of went a bit tits up when the manager was sacked, and he was pretty shocking. And this new assistant that's now taken over, not doing a fantastic job. I watched a bit of their game yesterday, and just they don't look right. So it's a concern. They're not even in a title race this year, which they usually are until about December when they play Bayern Munich and fall apart. So they were nowhere near the title this year, and they're struggling. So maybe it has paid off, and maybe we can get him for 60, 70 million, but we've got to look at priorities. We need a CDM. We do. I'm sorry. The Fred and McTominay thing, that can't keep happening, those two together, because it just takes away so much from going forward. And those two players should be one player doing one job. So we need a CDM. We need a centre-half. We need a right winger. But the reality is the owners probably aren't going to want to spend over 60, 70 million this year if we don't sell Pogba. And if we do, they'll reinvest that money as well. So, we've got a decision to make in terms of who we buy. And it could be a frustrating window, I think, for us fans, because this wish list that everyone's compiling of all these world-class players, guys, the reality is it just isn't going to happen. These like 4 or 5 players that everyone wants, it's just not going to happen. The owners didn't spend money last year. They spent 40 odd million in total. They're not going to want to spend much more than that. So yeah, I think people need to see reality, and we're going to have to pick 1 or 2 positions, not 4, because we can't do it.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not same scenario as last year, but I don't see why it won't be. But before we move on, let us know in the comments who you think your realistic signing for United would be. It'd be very interesting to hear from you. But we'll move on to sort of the main body of the podcast that we want to talk about. Obviously, Jamie is joining us as part of the United Stand, and we just wanted to first ask you sort of what is your involvement with them, and sort of how did you get involved with them?
So I'm the chief editor of the website, so I oversee the website. I think our website is one of the best websites out there in terms of Manchester United related content even. I've been with the United Stand on and off since 2016. I initially came on as a writer. I did writing for the old website. And then the new website launched beginning of last year, and I came back on in May. I think it was May, and we've just been watching the website grow and grow. I've loved the content that we've put out. I think we produce some brilliant content from some brilliant writers. We've got a great team of writers. James, you've done a bit for us, so the people that are writing for us, and it's forever growing. We've always got new people coming in, and I think that the talent that we've got and the content in terms of anything from tactical analysis to transfer news to opinion pieces, fan pieces, we're putting it all out there, and we're trying to give a voice for the Manchester United fans.
Yeah, well, how important do you think, as I say a company, because I'm not sure, it is a company in a way, how important do you think it is for the United Stand to develop as more than just a YouTube channel and offer this sort of news outlet? Does it, how does that offer the company growth in that sense?
I think that it's just we're wanting to give a voice and an outlet for Manchester United fans, a one-stop shop almost. We've got the YouTube channel. Everybody knows about the YouTube channel, and maybe the website isn't as well known, or it isn't as well known as the YouTube channel. And there's a lot of great content in the background behind the YouTube channel. We've got the player ratings, which is we are the only football website which offer that interactive player rating system between a website and between a YouTube channel, and it's a hugely popular feature that we've got. I mean, Drawty does a brilliant job of developing the website and moving it forward. I touch on the player ratings again. I think if you haven't done the player ratings with us before, it's certainly one to do after each match. It's good fun. And then you've got the bit with Mark afterwards where he goes through the player ratings and does it himself. So it creates a link between the YouTube channel and the website, which is a one of a kind. There's nobody else out there doing that kind of thing. And that's what we're trying to create, a platform where to just sort of discover and chat with other Manchester United fans.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Now, Henry, as a young journalist yourself, the pair of us are both studying at university. How important do you think websites like this are to really get young people into writing and get a real foothold inside the industry?
Yeah, it's important because I think at the moment, I'm not going to say writing's a dying art because it's not, but it's certainly become less popular because of YouTube and because of your video platforms and stuff like that. It's much easier to just make a 30-second video rather than write a long article. So it's important to have those things around, and the link between the United Stand YouTube and the website is really important as well, because if you can somehow get the YouTube audience, which is pretty big from what I've seen, over to the writing side of things, and then encourage them to get involved, those people that maybe want to be a part of the United Stand, then you've got big numbers again. So it's that link is the most important thing, I guess, because you don't want to have two almost separate parts of a company that don't kind of correlate or connect. because then it would become a bit disjointed. But yeah, I think that side of thing, is critical, and it's really important. And it's good to see writings getting kind of bigger again. Now with these websites, you see a lot of new websites and new kind of companies popping up. So it's good to see, and hopefully it will become more important and bigger again, rather than just radio and video.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Jamie, obviously we've seen the progression from YouTube to written form. We've seen this with a few other sort of footballing outlets as well. I can't name any off the top of my head, but do you think there's further progression within this? Do you think you can progress further past written news, maybe approach mainstream media and things like that?
Perhaps. I mean, there's a very fine line at the minute between mainstream media and fan content. People are sort of going towards the fan content because it's aimed at what they want to read or what they want to view. And to doing it, Manchester United fans doing it, there's Arsenal fans doing it, there's Liverpool fans doing it, Newcastle fans. Every club seems to have a fan outlet. And I think that the mainstream are sort of taking this fan content a lot more seriously than what there would have been, let's say, a year ago. And if anything, this is what the pandemic has done for fan content. It's strengthened the fan content industry, so to speak, and people are viewing fan content a lot more than what they were certainly a year ago. And the mainstream have taken notice of that. We've spoken with the likes of BBC and TalkSport over the past year or so, and look, there's a good working relationship there. I think there's this thought process that the mainstream hate fan content, and look, I speak to a lot of people from the mainstream media, and we've got a good relationship, and I think that it's something that fan content can work closely with mainstream and vice versa. So yeah, I think that there's plenty of scope there to build on, and I think that there'll be at some point a sort of crossover. I think that the two will start working hand in hand. That's my belief.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I think it's an exciting time for content production in football. Do you think, Henry, from an outside point of view, it's refreshing to see people, the fan channel sort of thing, merging into the mainstream media, especially over the pandemic? Because there's a lot of calls that for people that pundits don't have that same sort of desire as your everyday fan. Do you think it's refreshing to see a real fan's opinion in the mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Sky have kind of gone that way now with their YouTube channel and stuff. They've gone with like Sports Social and things like that, which are proving to be quite successful with what they want to do. If you don't involve fans, then you'll almost kind of set yourself apart as being this higher corporation than the fans, and they won't appreciate your content as much. So I think the connection has to be there, because if you get rid of fans, there is no football. It's simple as that. So even with the pandemic, fans are always watching games and stuff. So it all stems from the supporters, and I think that finding that link with big companies like, for example, BBC and Sky and BT, I think it's really important. But the pundit thing, I think you're right, James, in terms of, I just look at some shows after games and I just think, I get some are ex-footballers and stuff like that, but you could have someone so much more enthusiastic talking about a subject which they know a lot about and they've done a lot of research on. And you just see some of these pundits are really boring and just kind of, they're there just because they're an ex-pro, not necessarily because they know a ton about this or that, or they can do tactical analysis. It's just because they're an ex-professional, and I think that's a very difficult way to go about things, especially for these big companies, because as we've seen, they're losing a lot of respect in terms of, especially I'd say BT at the moment, they're losing a lot of respect in terms of some of the content they're producing after games, because it's just not engaging enough. And I think that if you have someone enthusiastic talking about a subject, something which they know a lot about, then maybe you can get, you know, better content out and involve more people. And the more people you get involved, the better, because it grows your fan base and everything you kind of stand for. So yeah.
Yeah, can't disagree with you. Now, Jamie, do you think that? Sorry, it's gone out of my head. The shift of power between sort of fan channels and the mainstream media is starting to shift a little bit, because, you know, the audience sizes that channels like the United Stand are getting are getting close to rivaling that of the mainstream media, and, you know, there's a general switch from audience appeal to a 20-minute YouTube clip than sitting and watching Sky Sports News for an hour, say. So do you think that shift in power, especially between and being an attractive model for an audience, do you think that's switching from mainstream media to the fan channels?
I think it's evolving, certainly. And the mainstream media, this is their business, isn't it? So, you know, they'll be all too aware that it's evolving, and they'll evolve with it. You know, we've seen it evolve anyway over such as Andy Gray and Richard Keys, and all of a sudden we've got Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville. And I think that from a tactical analysis point of view, you know, Monday Night Football was revolutionised when those two came in. You know, they completely changed the concept of their coverage. And Sky and the likes of Sky and BBC and BT even, they are evolving and will evolve with the growth of fan channel and fan content. They're too clever not to. I think that they may not have taken us seriously at the beginning, but they'll be all too aware the numbers that the likes of us and AFTV and even some of the Liverpool channels, they'll be all too aware of the numbers that are being pulled in. I mean, even the transfer deadline day coverage that we put in over the summer, the numbers that we got from that were huge, and they've taken note of that. There's no question.
Yeah, it's interesting times, isn't it? Is this something that excites you, Henry? Then this evolve. I know it's similar to what I asked you before, but, you know, do you think there's a genuine future in this sort of harmonisation between mainstream and fan channels?
Yeah, I think so. And I think if the mainstream don't evolve with the fan channels, then they'll get left behind. And, you know, we see how big these you know, United Stand and AFTV, see how big they are now compared to, say, 3 or 4 years ago. You know, they're evolving as well. So I think if Sky, BT, BBC, ITV, even with some of the coverage they do of FA Cup and whatever, I think if they don't evolve with these fan channels, they'll get left behind, and they don't want that to happen, because they'll lose a load of viewers and lose a load of money. And at the end of the day, this is a business. So yeah, I think that the kind of harmony that's been created, especially over the pandemic, because I think that's kind of been the key to everything, because you can't go to live games. You've got to find content from another source, essentially. So getting these YouTubers and whatever to do mainstream stuff, it is really important and really, really useful. So yeah, I think this has been, obviously it's been a tough time with the pandemic, but I think it's been a kind of a massive shift in what content people want to kind of see now, because people have got more time on their hands. So yeah, it's shifting and for the better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. No, I think, you know, unless anyone else has got anything to sort of add, I think that's us at an end. You know, and I'll open the floor to anyone, but.
So I want to know, Jamie, what's your thoughts on the Southampton game? What are you looking for, and what are you hopeful for? Do you want a big reaction, or are you looking just to grind out a result?
Of course, we'd all love to see a big reaction. Personally, though, I'd be happy to grind out a result. I think you get to a stage of the season, and we saw it in the days when we were successful under Sir Alex, that you do get to a stage of the season where you are grinding out results. I think that what social media has done is sort of, even though it was such a fantastic era, it's actually glorified the Sir Alex era. There's a select group of people which are under the impression that United were winning 9-0 every week and blowing teams away, and of course that's not the reality of it. It was fantastic to watch, but there was to the early 90s with Cantona, and there was 1 month where I think we won 5 games on the spin 1-0, and Cantona scored all 5 goals. It's not always been free flowing, fantastic football. I'd be more than happy just to see us grind out a result.
James, I'm going to ask you both a question. I'll come to you first. Title race over or not?
For me, it's a crazy season. It's a crazy season. So I don't think you can write off any team in the top 6 or 7 yet. I think with it being that tight, I think if Man City can keep up this consistency, then it could already be game over. But, we've already seen anything can happen this season. Liverpool are going to be, it doesn't look like they're going to sign a centre-back. They're going to be without Van Dijk and Gomez for a long time to come yet. So I think with them as they are, I think if City don't keep up this consistency, then it really could be anyone's. But, the last 2 results have sort of deflated me a bit. I'm not quite as confident as I was, but I still think it's City's to lose, but we're by no means out of it, I don't think.
Jamie, what do you make of it? What do you think? Title race or no?
I think we are in a title race. Whether we win the title is a completely different question. I don't think that we will win the league. I think that Manchester City are the strongest, and look, it's all right saying that Liverpool are missing centre backs. They are, but they're still an incredibly strong outlet. And for me, and I'll get criticised for this, this was about closing the gap this season on Manchester City and Liverpool. You can't just say that, okay, last year we finished 3rd, we need to then go on and win the league. Yes, okay, if you look at it on paper, that's perhaps what you would aim, but we finished miles behind both teams last season. And what Solskjaer has done, he has closed that gap. That's a fact. Nobody can not deny that. And, we're currently 3 points behind City. Yes, they have a game in hand. We're 3 points clear, I think, of Liverpool. I still think they are the 2 strongest. I still think it'll be those 2 fighting it out at the tail end of the season. But the fact that we're up there shows that we are progressing. We're 10 points better off than we were at this stage last season. And we're talking fine margins now, aren't we? If Cavani puts his chance away yesterday, we beat Arsenal. If the referee gets both goals correct in the Sheffield United game, we beat Sheffield United. We're on fine margins now, whereas last season it wasn't fine margins. We were dreadful at times, and of course we all know that the signing of Bruno Fernandes was the catalyst to go on and finish in the top 3. I think we're a couple of signings away from perhaps mounting a serious title challenge at the tail end of the season, but we're really not that far away now for me.
No, that's all I wanted to get from you guys. Just an honest opinion, because obviously this game's changed a lot of minds in terms of where we're at. But yeah, City just look formidable this year. Absolutely unbelievable, even without De Bruyne. So yeah, they're going to be tough to catch, I think. So that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. But yeah, on that note, we'll wrap it up then. Jamie, massive thanks for coming on and talking to us. It's been brilliant to have you. And Henry, as ever, that's no worries at all. Henry, as ever, thank you for joining me. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in and contributed with the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. But yeah, we'll see you next time.
Manchester United are the champions of Europe again.